Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be Review Rewind, I believe episode 5 or 6. I cannot remember, I did skip a week, so it's not as fresh on my mind. Probably should have checked that out. I do have a fat stack of books that I will be going over, so I did get some more reading done this week because I was very slacking the last week, so I wanted to make sure to get lots done. But yeah, I tried to put them in order from my least favorite to most favorite, but I don't know how perfectly I got it, but let's get right into it. So up first we have Justice League versus Godzilla vs. Kong 2. It was okay. There were some cool moments. You get to see a member of the non-Justice League team that's in here become a Titan, which was kind of cool to see. But other than that, it was just kind of slow. Not much really went on. Like, it felt like a lot went on for nothing to go on. It was an okay starting point. I'm not sure if I'll pick up the next issue. I might read it online just to see if I want to continue picking up the series. But it wasn't good enough for me to be like, oh, I need to get the next series. But I'll give it a 7.5. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever read. It wasn't really bad. It just wasn't something that captured me and made me really want to keep reading. Now up next I got Destro. This is the complete miniseries, the trade. This one was actually pretty good. There was some parts that were just not as fun, some was a little hard to understand, it was a little repetitive in some ways, but overall it was really good. The art was pretty good in this. It's cool to learn more about Destro's character and like the way he is, and I think they really displayed that well in this, as well as just building more stuff for this universe, so that was nice. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. If you're not reading the Energon universe, you should be reading it. I haven't had anything that's bad at all. I'd say this is probably the weakest one, if I remember correctly. I think this is the weakest that I've read. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't read all of it if you are interested, but either start with Void Rivals or Transformers. Those two are both really good. I personally prefer Transformers Volume 1. So for a starting point, I think that one was better, but they have G.I. Joe, Void Rivals, and Transformers are all in it, and they're all very good. I'm just getting through the miniseries right now, and then I'll start the actual G.I. Joe, but yeah, I do suggest you get into it if you have not. Up next, we have The Death of the Silver Surfer. I was really excited, or not really excited, I was really intrigued by this because I've been wanting some Silver Surfer stuff, and this cover is just amazing. Probably my favorite cover of anything that I read this week, or these last 2 weeks. But it wasn't as great as I was expecting. They introduced a human character in it and a different group, like S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that, like a group like that, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I feel like the character they introduced is kind of just boring. Not a lot going on there. And so, like, anytime Silver Surfer was on the page, it would have been more like a 9. But everything else just kind of wasn't my favorite. They made a Riz joke with a grandma. Why? I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but the Silver Surfer parts just carried this book. He was aura farming, he was being what you expect from Silver Surfer, the kind of character he is. But yeah, so I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10 as well. Now, moving up, we have Ultimate Spider-Man. This is issue 17. And this one was pretty good. Something I kind of expected. It didn't have much Spider-Man in it, but this one I did prefer to the last issue, which was the Mysterio issue. I did not enjoy as much. This one still kind of built on that, but it also built more on other characters. I liked the art on this because this was by someone else. The art fit what they were doing. I specifically like this one page. I don't think it was even like that great of art on that page. It's just like how the art fit with what they were doing on that page, I think was like the perfect spot for it. I'll see. I don't believe it was much of a spoiler. Yeah. Like this part here, it's just him walking throughout, but like him trying to like not be noticed walking throughout the city, and the look, I think the art fit there. The close-ups on faces though, I think were bad in some spots. They look really weird. The angles they would do the faces from just weren't the best. But that's the only complaint I have. And then it's just been a little slow building up stuff without Spider-Man. I do want Spider-Man back in his book, of course, but I get they're setting stuff up. I just haven't enjoyed it as much as when Spider-Man was there. But that gets an 8.5 out of 10 still. I'm just wanting to get back to getting Spider-Man in that book, and hopefully we'll have the main artist back. I'm not going to try to say his name because it's hard to pronounce and I don't want to butcher it. But I love his art. Then up next, I'm going to put these all together. So this is World's Finest, which is part 4 of We Are Yesterday, and then this is Justice League Unlimited, part 5 of We Are Yesterday. I also read part 3 online. I finally was able to get that online. I'm gonna rank them overall just because, like, if I were to rank a trade I read overall, I would. So I'm gonna give them overall an 8.5. I think the weakest issue was the one I read online. I think the 2 I read in person were a lot better. But I do like what they're doing with the time stuff right now. I think that's been fun to read. They're kind of like baiting you with the cover, but I'm pretty sure all the people that are on the cover that haven't been in it yet are gonna be in the final issue, because I believe that there's gonna be like over 800 characters or something like that. But like, they show stuff on the covers, which have been pretty cool covers. I mean, there's a lot of people, but they're still cool. And then it's cool that the time is ticking down on it. Like in this one, it starts at 10 and goes down to 6, and then this one starts at 5 and goes down to 1. But yeah, I think it was pretty good. I liked the ending parts of it more, the last 2 issues I read. But we'll see how they end this series. Up next is another number 1. This is Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion. Mine was actually misprinted. I can try to pull it out and show you, but I just had some pages that were misprinted, which was kind of funny. So I had to read it online because at first it was just like color that was messed up. Like literally the first page, the color is super faded. And you can't read it in this text box right now, but I can read that. It's white lettering, so it's difficult to read, but it was fine. Then this one here was supposed to have text in it and it just didn't. So I had to read that online. And then there's another page that's faded. It's a little spoilery, so I'm just not gonna risk showing that. There was one more. And then there was 2 in the back, which are probably the connecting 2. One's a spoiler, and then the other one is simply just the credits page. It should be a little darker than that, not that bright pink, and then of course there should be credits, but none of the black printed. So that's just kind of funny, but I'm not too upset about it. I'm not gonna go try to return it. It's just kind of a cool thing that I have a misprinted version of it. But anyways, for the book, it was good. It was a lot of setup, and then it was a better book than a better Spider-Man book than Ultimate Spider-Man was, because you actually got Spider-Man in this one. It was another one where you don't get all the characters you see on the cover, but I think it's fine. They were just showing that it's Miles and then the Ultimate Universe, so they put the whole Ultimate Universe there. But it was cool to get to see his interaction with Spider-Man, how they were doing that, what the interactions between him, Spider-Man, and Peter's son. Those were all just pretty cool, and then the name that he gives him was kind of funny, or he kind of chose, he didn't want to give it to him, but anyways, you'll find out if you read, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like I've said before, I don't like to spoil stuff, so I try to be as vague as possible, unless it's an older book that most people have probably read, which I do have one coming up. I will be sharing more about that. And up next is Radiant Black. This is volume 3. This one was really good. Did I give a rating for this? I don't know if I did. I'll go back really quickly. This is an 8.5 as well. It's just, I could say an 8.75, but just to keep it at least on 0.5, so it's an 8.5. It wasn't quite a 9, but it was better than the other Spider-Man, but not by like a lot, where I really liked it. But okay, back to Radiant Black Volume 3. Love this cover. I love purple, so getting to have a purple cover is nice. But this was a really good book. There were some parts that were stronger than others, but they did do something that I thought was just so cool. And I think you can even experience it without reading the book, because it doesn't really spoil much. They, for the story, had a short film being filmed about the main character and a character that's in a comic book in their universe that they also have a book about, I believe. And they were gonna fight, and so they kind of, that's what the whole issue goes over, is stuff with that. And then it ends and you get this page, which has a QR code. So I was like, okay, I'll scan the QR code. You get to watch, they made an animation, I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes. You get to have their fight and some other stuff in the animation, and it's not just the animation, they have voice actors doing it. It was animated beautifully, honestly. I mean, a little bit of it was kind of like that floating PNG, or not PNG, but like just like floating pictures for flying sometimes. But other than that, it was really good. It was surprisingly well done for just a little thing. I'm surprised they went into that. And I think it'd be really cool if they actually made a animated series, and I think the writer of the book was talking about that. He said that they had opportunity to do a show or something, and they just didn't think that it was going to be good with the people that they had the opportunity with, and so they turned it down. But they're open to making stuff for this universe, and I think they totally should. I think that it's just been getting a lot better. And how they ended this, or how they end all their volumes, is the last volume is or the last issue is about one of the other characters in the universe, and this one has been my favorite of the 3. The first was my second favorite, and the second one was my least favorite by far. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. And up next we have Ultimate Wolverine. This is issue 6. Very good book, getting us back on the right track. I like the last one, I don't know if I'm saying that, but I'm excited for what's to come. Something big is happening with it. If you read, you know what I'm talking about, or you should. Something big character-wise. But this one was kind of interesting how they did it. You see a mutant in here that hasn't been in the book at all, and kind of just thrown in there. I think it was kind of weird how they introduced him, and he felt a little weird. That part was a little more confusing. But getting to know what was going on with Logan in this was cool. And so I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10 as well, and I'm excited for the next issue. Now we're down to the last 5, or you could say the top 5 of this week. Ultimate Spider-Man, this is the Epic Collection, obviously the old Ultimate Spider-Man. I finally did just press through and read the rest of it. I know I'd been saying for a couple weeks that I was going to try to read it. I did. And it's in my top 5, so that tells you I definitely liked it more than I did at the start. I thought it started a little slow, but I think that's okay with Spider-Man, like how they were setting it up. I think it paid off well. It was just a little too slow. I didn't enjoy the beginning as much, but and it felt a little repetitive at the very start. But man, by the end, I'm hooked. I've been talking to people about trying to get the rest of this series. Trying not to go bankrupt trying to get it. But anyways, it was really good. I love this series. I love the book. I want to continue reading for sure. I think the art isn't the best at sometimes. I know some people really like the art. I just don't like how he draws faces at some points. I'll see if I can find. But like specifically the women's faces are like kind of ugly. Okay. Well, this shouldn't be much of a spoiler, but this is like him and MJ just talking, and the close-ups where they do the exact same 1-2 in a row for MJ are just kind of, I don't know. It's fine for the moment. I don't like how the faces are drawn personally. That's just a little thing I'm not a fan of. But like the fighting and stuff, I think that's drawn well. I think the superheroes and villains are drawn well. It's just the close-ups on the human faces are just not for me. Most of the time. Some of them are pulled off fine. Sometimes, normally the women look just a little goofy. But I enjoyed it. That's going to be a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Yeah, we'll say a 9.5. I was going to give it a 9, but I said 9.5, so it must be right. But yeah, 9.5. I suggest you read it if you haven't. It gets you... I don't know, it's probably 2 arcs, but it kind of feels like one with how it's connected, but I mean, the whole story's connected, so. But I do suggest you get into that. Now for our next one, we have Daredevil. This is volume 3 from Chip Zdarsky. This has the artist from the new Ultimate Spider-Man, which I am waiting to come back. I love his art. This one was good. I've loved this series so far. I don't think this is my favorite volume. I think the first one was. But I haven't read it in a bit, and it got me right back into it. I had to remember a couple of things that happened, but I loved it. I can't suggest this enough if you're a Daredevil fan. It has some similar vibes to the show for sure, especially the Born Again with stuff going on in here. So if you liked some of the stuff going on in Born Again, like the story stuff, not like every single part of the episodes, I would suggest you give it a shot. 3 volumes in, I've loved it, and this one is going to get a 9.5 out of 10 as well. Now, top 3. I did rank them in order of which ones I like most, but they are all going to be 10s for me, just so you know. Up first, Geiger. This is issue 15. So good. If you're not reading Geiger, you should be reading Geiger. It is the first indie comic I read, first Image comic I read, and then I'm also reading Radiant Black, and I've read Rick Exodus, which is one of my favorite comics. Wow, like the stuff they did in this one, The art, as always, is just so good. I love Gary Frank's art on when they're nuclear, when they're glowing green. I think it looks so good. I think the story that we're getting is so good. I'm excited to see what the next part brings. They set up some stuff at the end, which is pretty interesting, so I'm excited to see where that goes. Brought back some characters that were in the very first Geiger volume from 2019, I think it was. Maybe it was 2021. I don't know. The old one, yeah, I think it was 2021, not 2019. But the old one before they revamped it. So there's 2 issue ones, but they still connect as a story. And if you're reading it trades, they have it as volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. So they didn't make it too difficult on you. But I loved it. I can't suggest it enough either. And now to our second to last book. I have Robin and Batman, Jason Todd. I'm holding it correctly this time. If you saw my haul video, I kept struggling and holding it upside down because it looks right. But it was really good. 10 out of 10 as well. But the art on this I thought fit the vibe. I think the story was good. I think the characterizations were good for the most part. Keyword for the most part. The one person I think that was held back. I'm going to be a little shorter on this review, but just touch on some things I didn't in the haul because I did review it there. Alfred, slightly mischaracterized. He says some things you wouldn't expect him to, but he does explain why, and I think his reasoning makes sense, but from what we know about Alfred, I still don't think he would do that, but this is a different situation than they had been in before, so I can understand why he would, and I can also understand why people would hate it because of that, but I don't think that one part with Alfred is worth ruining the book. I think the book was really good still, and I'm definitely going to continue to pick it up. Now, the last book, Absolute Batman. Holy cow. If you read this, issue 9, Absolute Bane is absolutely insane. How many times am I going to say absolutely? Don't know. But I totally suggest you read Absolute Batman. If you're not, why haven't you been? It's one of the biggest books on shelves. And this is one of the biggest characters to join in multiple ways. Man, how Venom, I think that's what it's called, how the Venom stuff changes him in this is insane. It's just crazy book. You just get to learn a lot more about him compared to Batman, and it sets up some other stuff for the story, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into this book more. I hate that I have to wait a week to get to the next one, honestly. Or not a week, it's like a month. Why did I say a week? Sorry. I would hate having to wait a week. It's like I want the next issue. I want the issue after that. But I'm pulling it, so I was in for this. This is probably the best issue of the series, if not tied for 1 or 2 other ones. I loved it. We got Dragotta back on the art. The guy who did the art for the Mr. Freeze arc, you did good for what you were doing, for what you needed from the books, or what the book needed from you. But like I had said before, the faces just looked ugly to me. I think how he drew faces was pretty bad. But it gave the creepy vibe you wanted, and it was fine. It was only 2 issues, I was fine with it. But Dragotta is just a really good artist, and I really like his drawing in this universe. They had multiple cameos in this of different Batman characters. Some you would have to catch. There was, I think 3 is what I heard on the Hall of Nerds podcast. I can't remember the third one that I didn't notice. I noticed 2 of them. The other one I cannot remember at the moment. But, oh, I do remember now. But I'm not going to share them. Don't want to spoil it. But just make sure you pay attention to what you're reading. And, yeah, I suggest you get into it if you haven't. This is my favorite book. I'm actually going to change it. This is an 11 out of 10. Like, I know it's not a real score, glazing, whatever you want to say. It's an amazing book. I have no complaints about this issue at all. Like, not a single one. So, that's going to do it for this video, guys. No, it's not. Pranked you. I totally forgot to talk about what I'm planning to read this week. I talked about so much stuff that I did read. So, this is not just planning to read, this I'm going to read. This is Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, the Complete Collection, Volume 1. I have already gotten, I think, yeah, I read the first 3 issues. So, not a lot compared to what's in it, but it is very good so far. I've definitely enjoyed what I'm reading. And I'm excited to get through this. Then I will get through his Avengers and eventually get to Secret Wars. But that is not going to be a quick ask, of course, and it's also going to take some money. Up next, I will be reading Godzilla vs. Spider-Man. I got that in my haul. I just didn't read it. But I think I'll make myself read it just to get it over with. I don't expect it to be an amazing book, but it will be a fun read, I'm sure. And then finally, this was also in my haul, is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This is the Epic Collection, Modern Era Epic Collection from Ed Brubaker. And I want to try to get to this. I don't know if I'll finish the Fantastic Four in time to get to that. And then I also plan to probably go to my LCS sometime this week. If not, then I'll go the next week. So if I don't go to my LCS this week, then I won't have much that I read next week unless I finish Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, which if I do, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about it. And then I'll have probably the Spider-Man thing, and that'll be about it that I'll talk about. I might read some other stuff I have in my collection, but none of the stuff I have is either that interesting or it's something that I need to buy something to read before I read that, or want to buy something to read before it that lines up with it at least. But that's actually going to do it for this video, guys. Remember, if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I would also appreciate it if you shared this with one of your friends or multiple. No holding you back to only one. But thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, I love you, Jesus loves you, and God bless.